And I will call this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. James, are we good? Okay, all right. Good evening, everyone. I am Mayor Beverly H. Burks, and it is Tuesday, August 25th, 2026, 7 p.m., and this is the City Council work session. I'll start with roll call. Vice Mayor Johnson.
Present.
Councilwoman Adi.
Present.
Councilman Moore.
Present.
Councilman Perkins.
Present.
Councilwoman Bayonne.
Present.
And I'll recognize our city manager. And then we have any other elected officials online. Okay.
It's a violation.
Okay. And Councilwoman Bell, I want to make sure we recognize her. Okay. And we recognize our city manager, Shaquia Miller Thornton. Are there any updates or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we will proceed with the agenda approved by common consent. There are no presentations or administrative business, and under public comments, any member of the public may address questions or comments to the City Council referencing only agenda items after the mayor and council have had the opportunity to discuss the agenda item. Each attendee will be allowed 3 minutes for comments. There is no old business, and we will proceed with 6A under new business, discussion of Ordinance 545 to set by resolution the fee for distilled spirit by drink. Madam City Manager.
Yes, ma'am. I will defer to both the city attorney and the city clerk if she would have any comments regarding this item.
So, good evening, Mayor and Council. Essentially, the alcohol code almost, we have many different permits within the larger umbrella of alcohol permits, depending on what kind of alcohol and how and where you can drink it. All but this one said that the fee amount will be set by resolution. For whatever reason, this one said a particular amount. So we are recommending this ordinance just to make it fit with all the others. And then we have another item for that resolution that'll address all the alcohol permit fee amounts.
Excellent. And did we have any other comments? I think that's kind of self-explanatory. Council, did you have any comments as it relates to it? Public, did you have comments as it related to it? With that, is this something that we can have as common consent? Yes. Okay.
No. Abstain.
But you can have, she doesn't have to vote on it.
Well,
If
it goes on the consent agenda and she wants to vote on the other items, but not this one, there wouldn't really be a way to do that.
Okay, so it's okay, so we'll just do that. It'll be a regular agenda item. All right, we'll move on to B, which is the discussion of resolution number 2026-020 to amend the language on the fee schedule for alcohol beverage license. And Madam City Manager.
Yes, ma'am. Much like the city attorney just explained, this particular item will change the title of the fees to give staff and customers a clearer understanding of the charges for alcohol beverage licenses. Our city clerk brought this item to our attention. It just needs a little bit more clarity in the definitions of those alcohol licenses. Go ahead.
This is just a change in the wording of the titles of the different fees. The fees themselves are not changing at all.
All right, so you're just providing clarity.
Yes, it's just for clarification. There was no, it was confusing to see which ones were for on-premises consumption as opposed to off-premises. Package stores as opposed to restaurants, so to speak. And so that was confusing customers as well as staff sometimes, so we decided to clean that up.
Okay, thank you. Council, did you have any questions? And for IT purposes, James, the Councilwoman Bell was saying that she wasn't able to speak. I guess she was having issues.
Yeah, I'm muted me.
Okay, all right, perfect. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody's on board. Council, did you have any questions, comments on this one? None. Public, did you have any comments? Okay. Well, I know this will not be a consent agenda item, but we will go ahead and vote next week. We'll move to C, which is presentation and discussion of the revised final draft form of the City of Clarkston's Park and Recreation Master Plan for council consideration of adoption. Perez Planning and Design, Inc., presenters, Madam City Manager.
Yes, ma'am. So we are on our last phase, last leg of this initiative, and we want to thank our Parks and Rec Director and Perez Planning for doing an amazing job on getting this document together. I think it's going to be quite beneficial for the city for quality of life and for economic development purposes moving forward. So we have Perez Planning and Design here to present the final draft.
Thanks, City Manager, and good evening, Mayor and Council. And yes, I would just like to say we definitely believe we are now at the finish line, on the 1 yard line, sliding into home plate, all the sports metaphors. So based on our conversations and your feedback at the last time we were here, we've made just a few adjustments to the implementation strategy. Next slide, please. So all I'm going to do today is give you a brief overview of that revised implementation strategy, and then again, we can have a discussion if you have any questions, and that'll really be it. Next slide, please. So if you remember last time, we went through our implementation strategy, which included funding options, a phasing strategy, and that phasing strategy has now been revised to what we're calling the capital projects development strategy. So it's a similar metric for understanding how projects can be delivered, but we just made some adjustments based on conversations with Director Duncan and really based on the feedback we heard to ensure maximum flexibility for the project's delivery. And you'll see there's now 3 categories of capital improvement projects, which we think are more aligned with the funding options that we know you have. Next slide, please. So this revised capital projects development strategy is really, like I said, grouped into 3 categories based on their project management structure and potential funding sources. So we have Parks and Recreation priority projects, and those are projects that the Parks and Recreation Department will lead and ultimately prioritize, and advancing those projects based on existing funding sources and just the pursuit of additional funding as needed. The pending projects is really just one project, which you'll see is Parkside A. And that's another one that Parks and Recreation will lead, but we just know that that will likely require further planning, design, and the collection of additional funding. And then the third one is partnership projects. And so we've grouped a number of the other projects that we know have relevant partners. And so we're thinking that the best strategy would be to convene those partners and have them assist with grant applications and other needs to ensure that those projects can be delivered as well as possible. And importantly, to bring those other partners in to the process with things specifically around urban agriculture. And we know you have your city agricultural plan. And then a lot of those are also trails that would be hiking paths related to the greenway. So there's definitely a lot of greenway tie-in with those. Next slide, please. So these priority projects is really now limited to 2 projects that are city system-wide around signage and wayfinding and just overall picnic table upgrades, and then all of the Milam Park projects, and then 1 project to make some improvements at the Women's Club. One other thing we did was add a planning level costs a low estimate and a high estimate. Previously, we just had an estimate, which essentially was a very high estimate, which we did intentionally because, the goal is always to ensure that project would hopefully come in under that budget. And of course, at this planning level, these are all just, rough estimates. But what we can see now is that based on the projected funding over the next 10 years for capital improvement projects of $6.7 million, we're now hopeful that all of these projects can be delivered with your existing funding, given that their range falls within that goal of $6.7 million. So at the low range, around $5.6 million, and then potentially up to $12 million. And as we discussed, we believe there's a strong potential for bonds that would support, raising these projects to the level that Clarkston deserves. So, just really based on conversations with Director Duncan, the focus on Milam Park is also reflective of what we heard from the public in terms of improving the parks that you have, and then, moving to new parks once you've made these upgrades to your existing parks and the Women's Club. Next slide, please. So related to that, this pending project is Park Site A, the site on Montreal Creek Court, and we have been advancing design for that as well, but we just know that with a fully new park project like that, it's hard to know the exact amount of funding that will be required, so we called this a pending project. And, just given additional design and community input to determine exactly what amenities are wanted there. And I know we've talked a lot about the need for the need for a splash pad, and so, I think just based on further public engagement and understanding exactly what the public would like to see there, that will better inform the ultimate design and cost of that site. And then allow the city to understand, the funding needs there and help inform whether, pursuing additional grants or the bond that we discussed or any other, outstanding funding sources. Next slide, please. And so then this last group of projects we called partnership projects. And like I said, this is the remaining projects that were on the previous list. Quite a few of these may be really easily implemented with relatively small amounts of money and volunteer support. And like I said, I think, there's a number of relevant organizations and advocates in the community, passionate, residents who could support a number of these projects, specifically around urban agriculture. But then I think a lot of them are also related to walking paths and trails, which was a very high priority. But we believe developing those soft surface trails in conjunction with the greenways development is something that's really ripe for partnerships. And so that is that's really all we had to discuss today. Hopefully that makes sense and reflects the feedback that we heard from you. I think we know you've now also received the full report. And so, we're absolutely willing to take any feedback on that document that you want to share with Director Duncan. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing this move through adoption.
Okay, thank you. I did have one question because
Yes.
I didn't see Smith Street Park. That needs to be addressed in terms of completion of it.
Yes. Yeah, so we do have recommendations about Smith Street Park in our vision. And also, I think that the signage component is one of the pieces of saying, like, at minimum, you should put signage in that space to identify it as a city-owned park space. But there are recommendations related to Smith Street Park in the report.
Okay, I want to make sure that is on the list for 2027 in terms of execution, because it will now be 6 years. And I just have to put that out there, that we have to make sure in terms of addressing that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now that Smith Street has been changed, will that modification be considered as well? The name of the street changed. It's no longer Smith Street.
Oh, that's interesting. I wasn't aware of that.
Yes.
Well, that's good that you haven't developed any signage for the park yet.
The signage is not we're not on that. We are. The signage was not the issue. It was the development of the park. because right now it's dormant.
Yes, I understand that. So, yeah, there are a number of recommendations in our vision about developing it as a park site, and that would really begin with a community engagement process to understand absolutely, the needs of the community, in addition to some recommendations that we have just based on our analysis. But I think, the very first step would be at least placing signage in the park to let residents know that it is a public park space.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Councilman Moore.
This is a great document. I really appreciate the history that you delved into to explain how parks developed here in DeKalb County and in Clarkston. So I think it's a really good document. I'd like to have a copy of it, a full copy of it as a book, if I could get one.
Yeah, we can definitely have it printed for you. Thank you for that comment.
He's our historian.
Yeah, no, I would love to print it out. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I have one. Is
Yes.
that publication already budgeted? What
The-
he's asking for?
The printing costs?
The printed?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah. We won't send you a bill for that.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. That's kind of you. Public, do you have any comments? Any comments from the public? Okay. With that, we can have further discussion next week. Okay. All right. We'll move on with that item.
For consent?
We can have it as consent if you want to consent. You want consent? No, it's fine. I just want to make sure we just don't do something for Smith Street by next year. Okay.
Oh, that would be a part of our planning for the budget.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So I think we're good. It's consent. Nice
Thank you.
seeing you. All right. Thank you. Again. All right. There you go. So we are now ready. Apologize. Let me get back to the top. It's a wonderful presentation. Oh. Item 6D, which is a discussion of SS4A policies and process recommendations for a final FHWA report. Madam City Manager.
Yes, ma'am. I will defer to our city engineer, Larry Kaiser.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. We are also in our last leg of the SS4A program after, how long has it been, 18 months of significant public input, technical analysis, and a whole bunch of other things on this project. So we're wrapping this up, but what you have before you is what I presented the last time we met, and that is the policies and process recommendations for the SS4 program. So this really wraps up, it's really a good summary, I think, of what we accomplished here over the last 18 months. It is a program in front of you, the spreadsheet, that really will allow us, once these items are implemented, will help us pursue other funding in the future, because this document will then be included with any kind of future SS4A funding or even Atlanta Regional Commission funding, for that matter. Anything to do with federal funding, we can point to this and we can say, here is this wonderful report, and here are the things that we are beginning to implement. Not the fact that we can do all of this in 2 years. This is a 10 to 15-year process. It's a long-term process. But there are some items here that I believe we can proceed with over the next several months and begin implementing a few of these items. Again, it's going to take a lot of effort from a lot of different departments to make this happen. You can see the categories. They're broken out into 6 different categories. They're the light shaded categories. If you look at the light shaded areas, there's 6 of them. And you'll see across the top, you'll see the type of recommendation and the time span for doing this, timeline, who is going to lead the charge, level of effort, how much it's going to cost approximately, and any ordinances that might need to be passed with this. So if you don't mind, Madam Mayor and Council, let me briefly go through a few of these that I've highlighted, and I'll try to go slow. That's kind of hard for me to do, but I will do that. And so we'll go for the first one. Resolution SS4A grant support. You will recall one of the very first things you did was the Vision Zero resolution last year. That really was the beginning point of where we began this program. It provided some guidelines as to what you are willing to accomplish during the life of the program and going forward, not just during the study period. We did this a little bit different than other governments I'm very familiar with. Many councils and commissions would do the resolution at the end of the program. We did it at the beginning of the program because we wanted to be able to look at what we want to have accomplished and then proceed from there. Instead of having all the results and then doing a resolution, we wanted some early input, and that's what that resolution provided. So this list of 7 pages really goes back to that resolution. Not every single item here, but most of it is. And I'll go through these and I'll explain that to you here shortly. So the first one is the resolution of the grant support. So one of the very first things that the resolution talked about was developing a website so that we can present the public with how we are tracking incidents, accidents, serious injuries, traffic deaths, those kind of things. So the public will realize that there is progress being made, because progress will be made. There's no doubt if we can implement some of these right away, we will show an improvement with reduction in serious accidents and deaths. I have no doubt at all. So that's the website. The next one is the quarterly progress, an annual process. So we will come to you, most probably more on it says quarterly. That's one of the things I wanted to do, but that may be too frequent. We may try to do it maybe once every year or maybe twice a year. But as long as we report back to council and mayor, showing what we've been able to accomplish, we will meet the letter of the law of what we're trying to develop here. The next category is safer roads. And so the safer roads are projects that actually provide, infrastructure projects that actually provide a benefit to reducing deaths and serious accidents. And that's what you will see in the final report. You'll see a whole bunch of projects along the North Indian Creek, Montreal Road corridor, and then you'll see 40 other ones throughout the city, all the way from signage, something as simple as signage, to a small roundabout, and I'll give you some examples. A signal at Church Street and the railroad tracks. We know how confusing that is when you come across those railroad tracks. It's been that way for 100 years, right? Same thing we're going to do at Mel down the railroad tracks in the very near future, we hope. So those kind of projects are one of 40 that are not on the corridor, the Montreal and North Indian Creek corridor. So there's quite a few projects that we can pick off and determine which ones we can do relatively easy and the harder ones can come later. And each one of those projects has a cost estimate tied to it. So we'll have some basis to work off of pursuing grants. So that is under safer roads. The next page is another area, and that is under safer roads, and that is update transportation design standards. So, as the city manager knows, we have some work to do on our development ordinances, something that we haven't really touched. We talked to zoning over the years several times with the zoning, but we haven't really touched the development side. And that's something that we really need to jump on, and we talked about that before. You know, there's not a lot of new development that's going to happen in the existing city limits, unless there's a lot of tear down and rebuild. Where this is going to come into play is future annexations, if those occur. And then we'll be taking more responsibility with roads and other streets that we're going to have to maybe take a look at a little more closely from a transportation standpoint. So that's where those design standards will come into play. The next one, 3 or 4 down, we talked about adopt a comprehensive and binding complete streets policy. You may recall, and I don't think, Mayor, I don't think you were at council at the time. Way back, and Dean, you were. So we had the councilwoman, what was her name?
Brown.
Georgia Power.
Brown.
Yeah, Brown. Yes. And so she introduced something to council, complete streets policy. I don't know what happened to it. It was there, but it was never formally adopted. At least I can't find it. And so we are going to make sure it's adopted this time around. And so that's one item. Demonstration under safer people. You'll see the next light colored gray area, safer people. This is something that has been successful all across the city, whether it's planning and economic development kind of projects, and that's the pop-ups. This is something that I didn't even think about. I should say many, there are a number of cities throughout the United States that have these pop-up events for transportation projects. Rather unique. I've never seen it before until Kimberly Horn brought it to my attention. So before we actually build something, nothing major, these small crosswalks and rectangular rapid flashing beacons, those kind of things that we can do citywide, we actually have a pop-up on site with display boards. And it's like a mini public meeting, right, on site. And so that's what we're going to do as well on many of our smaller size projects. So page 3, the very top, again under Safer Roads continuing discussion, implement a citywide traffic safety education program. This is a hefty effort that will require more than myself, Public Works. It's going to have to take a lot more time, man hours, woman hours, person hours to make that happen, because it's going out and speaking to schools, developing a campaign, sort of like the driver awareness, driver education program. So even though it's in here, that's going to take some time to do that. And you can see under the level of effort, high, yes, it is high. And so I want to mention it to you because it is something that I think is important, but I don't think we can pick that off right away. So go to the next page, and you'll see under the third one down, prohibit right turns on red. As a traffic engineer background that I have, all traffic engineers love right turn on reds. Okay? It reduces congestion, it allows traffic to flow better. Problem with that, particularly in a city like Clarkston, when there are a lot of tight radiuses at intersections and a lot of crosswalks, what happens when you come up to a signal or a traffic signal and you allow a right turn on red? Most of the time, you're not looking for pedestrians, right? A couple of years ago, I was in downtown Atlanta over on Spring Street, and there were bikers and buildings right up the next street and bikers coming down the sidewalk. Right turn on red is allowed. I about hit a biker on that crosswalk because he comes streaming down the sidewalk, crossing the road. I didn't see that biker. And so one of the things that I'm going to recommend at various locations is exactly that, no right turn on red. And that's a big deal in some, particularly at the underpass at North Indian Creek. No right turn on red can cause a little traffic congestion there. So it's something we can talk about, but that's one of the early wins, I think, in terms of pedestrian and bike safety. Going down a little further, public policy regarding multi-language outreach. Well, we've been doing that. Everybody's been doing that in the city for a long time, whether it's the Parks program, whether it's SS4A, whatever it may be. We've been doing that quite heavily the last couple of years, and we want to continue to do that. Again, there's a cost associated with that, and we have to decide how many languages we want to reach out to, but it's something we need to do. The next page, establish a dedicated staff person for safety programming. Okay, that's a budget issue, right? Some of these items are just course of business, whether it's ordinance development, whether it's engineering, whether it's putting projects out to bid, demonstration projects, pop-ups. Those can be done on a routine, I would say routine basis, but we can implement those in-house for the most part. But some of these other items really requires somebody that's dedicated to this, whether it's full-time or part-time. We're not really in the conversation today about hiring somebody to do that in the city. It's just something I know we need to keep in mind, because at the end of the day, when 2035 comes around and 2040 comes around, where we talk about reducing accidents and deaths by a lot, we're going to have to really go out there a lot and make some major changes on the entire program. And that's what we're speaking about here. Next item is safer speeds. At the very bottom, you see that gray highlight area, so you turn the page, safer speeds. So here's a second item down, implement speed feedback signs at high-risk locations. So one of the things that we spoke about early on was something I found out about at a conference in Washington, D.C. about 3 years ago. I go to the Transportation Institute conference in DC. There's most probably 15, 20,000 engineers from all over the world going there, presenting their transportation research projects, and consultants there, and a whole bunch of people. One of the things that a vendor provided knowledge to me on was a program that's very inexpensive, and I love it. And that is, you know how you give out tickets and warnings and all that when you go through a signal that's red? Well, there's a similar item in terms of detecting people's license plates. I know there's a lot of controversy about flock cameras and all that, but here's what I'm talking about. If you go over the speed limit by 5 miles an hour or 10 miles an hour, there's a camera that takes a picture of your license plate, and that person gets a letter, a nice letter, that says, hey, by the way, you're speeding through here, slow down, please. Now, that's all that happens. If they do it again, they get another letter. They keep getting letters until we get their attention. That's an easy thing to implement. We can look at 1 or 2 locations to do that. But again, that's something we can talk about, but I have found through that Washington, D.C., the yearly seminar that's been going on for 100 years in Washington, D.C., that the cities and counties that have implemented this has seen a reduction in speed on their roadways. Now, is it long-term? I don't know. It's a relatively new kind of safety project. It's only been around for a couple years, so there's no long-term analysis of how beneficial it is, but I would like to try it. I really would. And I think we can get some grants to do it also from the governor's Office of Highway Safety. So something we can talk about going forward. The last page, the last 2 items, regular investigation and monitor crashes. That's what traffic engineers do. So you take all the accidents that occur along that corridor or any place in the city, and you look at each one of the accident reports, the incident report, and say, why did this happen? We've never done that. Very few places do that. And so that's something I think is worthy of doing in the future. And then the second item is create a reporting mechanism for roadway safety hazards. That could be done. It takes a little effort with the help of the chief and Public Works and me and my staff and council. Anybody that sees hazards on the city roadway, we document them, just like we document stormwater flooding problems. Same thing, not any different. And you document them, and you post them, and you report on them, and you say what we're going to do to accomplish to reduce those high accident locations. So again, this is just a small piece of the overall report. This is going to go in to the final report to the Federal Highway Administration due September 30th of this year. With the staff and I, we're looking at the draft reports. We've been looking at a whole bunch of things the last 18 months, a whole bunch of diagrams and maps and analysis and reports, and so we're getting close. Next month is when Kimley Horn, just like Perez Planning, they'll be up here presenting to you in more than 10 or 15 minutes. Hopefully you'll give them maybe 25 to 30 minutes because it's a lot to talk about. And they'll report on the project and what we're going to submit to the Federal Highway Administration. So that's the presentation for today.
Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. A couple of things. How are we making sure that we keep the county a part of this since it's a joint initiative?
Mm-hmm.
And who, in terms of reaching out to potentially the chair that would be kind of responsible for this, have we done that piece of it?
Oh, we have done it, as you know, we've done it with Ms. Keeter and David Pelton before he retired, and the Planning and Sustainability Department. They have been involved with our committees. But you know what it's going to take. It's going to take the city manager, myself, my staff, you dealing with the administrative side of the Board of Commissioners, and reminding them periodically that we haven't forgot about this. Because the only way this works is if the county participates. You'll note in the report, we have like 4 or 5 projects on their section of North Indian Creek. That's the whole idea, right? The whole idea was for us to do some planning and design of their high accident locations. And we've done that, and they know about it. They've seen it. It's a matter of us not letting them forget about it. As you may or may not know, they received a SS4A grant as well, $800,000, I think. They don't even have it under contract yet. They pursued it at the same time we did, for whatever it's worth. It's taken forever to go through procurement over in DeKalb County. But when they begin their process, I fully expect, I think the city manager would agree with that, we need to be on their committee, just like they were on our committee, so that we can have that same input. Now, are they going to look at the entire corridor? That'll be one of most probably 50 projects they're going to look at, right, the county, because it's the whole county. But we want to make sure that what we do and what we recommend is exactly what they put into their report at the end of the day. Because then we have their report, our report, when we go after future funding.
Okay, and then the other pieces with all of the policy recommendations, I'm hoping that, I know we kind of talked about it, but definitely having some type of dashboard for us to make sure with every one of these plans and policy recommendations that we have a repository for us to make sure from a council perspective that we stay on point with that as well, so.
I don't want $1.5 million going on the shelf.
Right. Okay. Council, did you have any comments?
Ma'am, I have a
Councilwoman Bell? Yes.
Mayor, I have a comment about the collaboration with DeKalb County. Just about a week and a half or so ago, I reached back out to COO Zach Williams and Ms. Ravello to remind them about the conversations, specifically about the Norman Road project and the Safe Streets for All. And so COO Williams asked one of his staffers, I can't remember the name, I'm looking for it real quick, but to set up the meeting. So we look to get the invite within the next few days or so. If not, we'll just reach out again. But
Okay.
we're trying to stay on top of having those conversations with them.
Okay. All right. Councilwoman Bell?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kaiser, for presenting these policies and process recommendations. My question is least about the policy and more so about the process and the coordination. So you have champions on here from each department. Have you coordinated with them to figure out what platforms and softwares we already have that can be integrated? Because it's a lot of terminology used around development of it. And then my second question is around low, medium, and high as it relates to the cost. What is the range, Mr. Kaiser?
So the city, we have very little in terms of spreadsheet, in terms of models, dashboards. Is something where this is all going to result in us starting from scratch. I'm just be honest with you, and that's fine. We start fresh and proceed with those that we can, low-hanging fruit, and begin to show some progress. But the city manager and I have not sat down to go to each one of these with the Public Works Department and discuss these intimately. But that's something we will be doing very soon, I suspect. And so, your second question was, I'm sorry.
The cost range, Mr. Kaiser. You have low, high, and
Oh,
medium.
yes.
What does that mean?
Low means low-hanging fruit.
I assume so. What does that look like from a fiscal range?
Have not developed that yet.
So, Mr.
I do not want to
Kaiser,
put out a number. Okay, $3 million.
it's hard to implement if we don't know what the fiscal category is, and the policy recommendations that you're giving us are cities that are quite larger than us, that have larger budgets.
So low means low-hanging fruit, and low means not as much money as high. How's that for an answer?
Mr. Kaiser.
Okay, any other questions from the Councilman Perkins?
Thank you. So I just want to reiterate, so Councilwoman Bell brought out the same question that I had around cost. And I'll give you an example to make this tangible. So we have a cost in terms of, let's see, implementing a hazard reporting, I forget which page this is on.
Database.
Yeah, the housing or the hazard reporting database.
Yeah.
And so we have high level of effort, medium cost. Honestly, we have the existing technological infrastructure to implement that now. Now, time-wise, in terms of our IT department, that would be on your side of things, but we have the software already to do it. And, that's programmatically a pretty straightforward thing. Now, if you're trying to get it to talk to police records and everything else. And so I think I certainly, as we move forward, would be interested in having more than categorical data on, as we move forward. I'm assuming that our budget discussion is not going to be high, low, medium when we get into line items. That's right. I figured that. We've been pretty consistent with having. But yeah, just to give this an example, it's hard to kind of know what to do with this, to Mayor and my colleague's point, without having some,
This is everything. The whole idea is to come back to you in a month or two and say, okay, here are the things that we can implement, low-hanging fruit. Here's the technology we do have. Here's what we need, and then go forward from there. That's all we can do.
So-
To put a dollar amount to each one of these would have just been a guess, to be honest with you.
So maybe I'm misunderstanding the purpose, because my understanding is this is the complete list that we're using to apply for federal grants. Am I
In the
correct in
future,
that?
over
In the future.
time. So what
Okay.
I've done is I've highlighted those, so what I did right now is highlight those items that we can begin working on, so we can show progress when we apply for a grant. So so let's say we go after another SS4A. One of the very specific questions they're going to ask is, oh, you got a planning grant, great. What have you done with it? And we will say, well, we've picked off number 3, number 5, number 7, and here's what we're doing on those, and we can show progress. This is a 10-year effort to go through all that. I mean, this is a long-time effort. Remember, 2035 is what the resolution spoke about in terms of reducing traffic accidents and serious injuries by 50%, and 2040 eliminate it all. Now, that may be a lofty goal, but we have to have a goal. And we can meet the 50%. The no accidents, that's going to be really difficult. So your question is the cost. We are going to take those items that we can do within the budget and begin implementing those and talking to the council about them. That's all we can do at this point.
Okay.
We don't have, if we had to try to do all of this within a year or two, it would never happen. A very important part of this is implementing projects, small profile projects. So we go after a big project like the corridor as an example. We're going to have to do more than just show them that we've done 3 or 4 policy ordinance recommendations. They're going to want to know whether we've implemented some of the 40 projects in the city. And we will be able to accomplish some of those projects with existing budget. But we have to show progress, and everything we do, we have to show progress. That's what matters.
Okay, so this is establishing a baseline.
That's what, this is the baseline.
Gotcha, and our finance experts are going to flesh out that. That's what okay.
And remember, the biggest
Good
cost.
luck, sir.
Here's the biggest cost. The biggest cost is not hiring a person. The biggest cost is not hiring a person. The biggest cost is not ordinance development. The biggest cost is building stuff. That's the big one.
I want to make sure that any other council members have any other comments? Yeah. Okay, Councilwoman Bell.
So I just want to give clarity, Mr. Kaiser. You've been here long enough to know that we get a lot of reports and recommendations. Implementation is a slower process, especially as you mentioned that the cost comes in the bill, right? Change orders are real as well. And the cost today is not the cost tomorrow, so that's important. Even as you build out a dashboard, even if you just came to us with the priority projects at the top, 1 through 5, and then also the cost, and even if there's opportunity for collaboration. That's why I'm asking for those things.
Yes, and and you're right. We will tie a dollar amount to the ones we can implement, the low-hanging fruit, the low-effort, low-hanging fruit projects, and we'll put a dollar amount to that. And then city manager will talk about how that can be implemented during the rest of this year and early part of next year, so we can show progress when that grant application period comes again, hopefully sometime next spring.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. So for this one, in terms of the discussion, there's no action on it, it's just
No
discussion.
action.
Okay. And I got you. I have public. I just want to make sure. All right. Thank you, Mr. Kaiser.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Public, would you please come up?
I'm Debbie Gaffman. I live on Mill Avenue. I talked about this with our city manager, but I'm going to talk about it with you guys. I want the Mill Avenue piece to be one of the 40, and I will tell you why. I talked to, because many people have said to me, DOT won't allow a 4-way stop. So I called the DOT, and I met with the DOT, and he came out and looked at that mess we have on Mill Avenue, And he commented to me, if you need something in writing from me, I am happy to do that, but we will not, of course, pay for anything. And I said, so what do you think? And he said, four-way stop, maybe. You can't have a four-way stop on the railroad because people got to be able to go through, but maybe do the same thing you're doing on Church, which is a three-way stop. All right, so he said, you should call DeKalb County. So I called DeKalb County, and they came out, and I met with them, and they said the exact same thing. They said, why is this not an easy thing? It's a three-way stop. It's clearly a three-way stop. And he paced it off for me, showing me how we would do it. He said the markings on the road are confusing. People think it's a stop marking, but it's not. Every single time I go to turn onto my street, people are stopped, and I need to go. I don't like it. So I said to the DeKalb County guy, well, isn't this your piece? And he said, no. He said, our piece starts 5 feet over there. Clarkston is in charge of this piece. And I said, well, what if we bought the signs? Would you guys put them in? He said, no, Clarkston has to do all of it. So I looked up the price of the sign. The stop signs are $45 now. I am destitutely poor, but I will walk up and down and get my neighbors to chip in, and we will buy 2 or 3 stop signs just as a stopgap to get it going. School has started. We've already had 1 rec. We're going to have a rec every Saturday morning while they have soccer practice, because those are the soccer moms that are in a rush to turn left. They can't turn left. They don't understand. They have a rec. And it's every Saturday morning. We've already had a school rec, not with a bus, but with somebody driving to school, because nobody understands the marks on the road. It seems so simple. It's just two stop signs, because we already have a stop sign on Mill. So it's really just 2 stop signs, $70. $70, and then the guys to put them in, probably another $4 million. I don't know what it costs to put this in. But I want that to be one of the 40 right away. It's really important to us. We've got 14 houses. Where are you, Larry? 14 houses coming in across the street from me. Already, Barry has moved, and his moving trucks already had an accident trying to come around the corner. Somebody smashed into him. So, and all he's doing is moving next door. So he's moving into the little greenhouse, and they'll start tearing down the other house, and that's a very slow process, but it's coming. There's going to be 14 more cars, probably 28, because nobody has 1 car. 28 cars are going to be coming and going on that stop, and we can't wait 10 years. We can't wait 10 years. And if the DOT says it, and DeKalb, those losers, they say it, we know what could help. Because on the Church Street side, we're not seeing the kind of wrecks that we're seeing, and I back this up by the very many people Brian, who comes and complains all the time about this. We're not seeing the wrecks on the Church Street side, but we're seeing them on the pond side. It's partly the shape of the road. I love that you guys did the little blinky things. That's great for me at night, but it's not stopping those Saturday morning and Monday morning wrecks. And it's just 2 stop signs, just two. And then paint over all those markings on the road that no one understands. And today, coming here, I'm trying to turn right, and a guy is coming off the expressway and just went into the middle and then around a whole bunch of cars and on at 90 miles an hour. There's no stop sign to stop him. I'm done. But this is a big deal. I talked already to the city manager about it. I think it's just got to happen. Okay. And we'll raise the funds for the signs. We just want them. We just want them so much.
Thank you.
And I think this guy gets a lot of money, so he can chip in. You can chip in.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Council members. Sean Waters, Nielsen Drive. Just to dovetail on her comment about speed in Clarkston, and with due respect to our friend Larry Kaiser there, as you consider what to do about speeds going forward, I certainly hope that you will refrain from just mailing a strongly worded message to people that infract speeds or don't obey speeds in Clarkston. As a concerned citizen, I implore you to enforce the speed limits to the fullest capacity of the law and ensure traffic violations are met with economic consequences. Chief Bullock, I'm pleased to hear that there'll be a restoration to speed detection again in Clarkston. It is very much needed, especially on Norman Road. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Hearing none, we'll close this out. Will not be on the council agenda, correct?
That's correct.
We'll move to E, which is a discussion to consider the resignation of Planning and Zoning Board Member Felicia Wyatt.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Council, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, City Council. And I just want to put an economic plug. Make sure your neighbor pull a demolition permit. Okay. I'm kind of short, so I'm gonna, can I just take this off?
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Okay, good evening. Before you is a discussion regarding the resignation of Ms. Felicia Weinert from the city's Planning and Zoning Board. Ms. Weinert submitted a resignation from the board, creating a vacancy on the Planning and Zoning Committee Board. So this resignation will bring a formal acknowledgement of the resignation and for council to provide direction regarding the vacancy and the process of identifying and appointing a replacement. Staff recommends that the city council accept the resignation and provide direction on whether the city should proceed with soliciting applications regarding the vacant position, which will be consistent with the city's established appointment process and applicable ordinance requirements. Once council has provided the direction, staff will proceed accordingly and return the matter to city council for proper vote and if necessary.
Okay, thank you very much. And so with that, I'll definitely make sure that we open the application process, and typically, as the mayor, I provide that recommendation for that appointment for that particular seat with the council voting on the person. But we would definitely like to open it up for anyone who'd like to do it, unless council has sets of folks already. Okay. All right, so we'll do that. Do you need any more direction in order to proceed? I want to make sure you're ready to go.
No, ma'am, I'm ready to go.
Okay. Community, do you have any comments on this one? No? And we just want to say thank you again, Felicia, for her service. She's been on here since, I think, 2017. A significant time. So thank you. We'll move on.
I have a question,
yes.
Mayor. Will we need a vote of council to accept the resignation? Even so it'll be on the next agenda?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So that we can vacate the seat.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
I mean, it's effectively, well, yes.
Yes. Okay.
And then, I think it's relevant to the solicitation of candidates to let them know the length of the term that remains.
Yes, okay.
So then we'll have to approve the resignation
Resignation.
next week, because this right now is a discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes.
Point of question as well on that. Do we need a formal, I think we've asked for formal resolutions. Do we draft for that, or can we do it by motion? Would we want that resolution to have the acceptance of the resignation and then to open up for applications, or?
I mean, my suggestion would be, all it needs to say is the name of the member, the fact that she's tendered her resignation, and the date that her vacant seat term expires.
Okay.
And as far as soliciting the resignations, I mean, that's
Just
something
administrative.
the staff can carry
Okay.
out.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll move to F, which is a discussion of resolution number 2026-01 to amend the contract with CPL Architects, Engineers, and Landscape Architect DPC for on-call consulting services. Madam City Manager.
Yes, ma'am. No? Is that another item on the agenda? Okay.
Oh, well.
You got that?
I'm looking online.
The next item. Is there a next item?
So we don't have to worry about that one?
Oh, yes, for Clark Patterson Lee. Yes, ma'am. 1 second.
Okay.
Thank you. That's okay. All right. Back in February, Mayor and Council approved a contract with Clark Patterson Lee for on-call consulting services. Well, actually, the city manager approved that application based on the funding that was appropriated within the city's budget. The contract was for an amount not to exceed $25,000, and we have reached that contractual limit. But we have also identified a need to retain services from Clark Patterson Lee for some projects that we currently have in their queue, and for high-level review of development plans, different kinds of plan review. We anticipate that there will that the new contract amount will be amount not to exceed $50,000. So it will be an additional $25,000 to the current $25,000 contract. And because the cost is going above the $25,000, it needs to come before council. And so we have presented that. Some of the amendments that are currently in the queue for them are presentation of the mobile food vending permits. We're also having them to look at some additional zoning language for presentation to the Planning and Zoning Board, and then ultimately presentation to the mayor and council.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions about this one? All right, public, do you have any questions as it relates to it? And I apologize that you don't have the latest copy because it's online, and that's what I'm looking at, and I apologize for you not having that last agenda item. Yes.
Sorry. It is online.
Oh, it is online.
I'm confused. We hired a zoning person, right? Why isn't she doing it? I don't understand.
So we, in the interim of having Mr. Edwards come in, we actually at budget adoption time, council approved on-call zoning, planning and zoning, and economic development services to offer high-level support to those offices.
Yeah, I know those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. The city currently has a number of plans, planning initiatives. We've had two major transitions within the planning department, to include the director and our permit administrator. And right now, Clark Patterson Lee is working on some zoning amendments with the planning commission. So we don't want to take them out of that process at this time. We may not use that $50,000, the full $50,000, but we don't need to terminate their services yet.
Okay, it just sounds like double pay. We're paying her and we're paying them.
But
So
it's
if
based
you-
on, I'm sorry,
No, you go
Mayor,
ahead.
it's based on the workload. Every plan that we have touches the planning department. And we're also in the middle of establishing a new planning software that the planning director also has to manage, on top of getting acclimated with historic preservation and downtown development authority,
Get it.
yes, ma'am.
So are we thinking we need two people in that job?
we're thinking we need to get through transition and to get all of these plans and all of these high-level amendments accomplished. That's what we
Okay.
think.
Okay, because
Yeah, and we would rather spend the $25,000 to get us where we need to be than to bring on a full-time person and pay $75,000 in benefits and all those things.
or part-timers who could do the computer part.
It still would be less than $25,000.
And it's also on call, so
Yes,
that's a.
exactly.
Okay, all right.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, now it's just one. We used to have two. Full-time, so. And just remember, it's on call, okay? And it's reached a threshold, so I just want to make sure it has to come before us. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, though.
Mayor, can I make one more point?
Yes.
It does not constitute an increase in budget because we did have on-call services budgeted. We just didn't have the contract set for that amount.
Correct. Okay. Any other comments from the council? Can this be consent? Yeah, okay, perfect. All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session for personnel matters. So, unless you just want to see how long we're going to stay, then we're just going to do this and adjourn after. And we appreciate you, and we'll see you next week, and have a safe Labor Day. Is it Labor Day?
No.
No. Oh, I'm thinking. One more week. Whole week. I know. Okay, so we need someone to make the motion.
I move that we adjourn to executive session to discuss a personnel matter.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that we adjourn to executive session to discuss a personnel matter. You ready for the question? And we gotta wait a minute. We're not finished yet. We're not
And we need
finished.
to have community
And then,
education.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Now we're in executive session.
Are we leaving this room?